Hello and welcome. This is the Fenix Airbus A320. We're making a RNAV approach to runway 21, I think. Let me check. Yeah, runway 21 at Mombasa International Airport. We've just overflown Kilimanjaro. Google Maps not doing its best here, so let's see if we can switch it to people and get something a bit better. It's always a bit hit and miss when we're flying to places like Africa. So this is hopefully more uniform as to the colours. So we're flying the RNAV approach via Egvom. I think it is Egvom. That's our next waypoint here. I'm going to actually engage performance approach phase, confirm. Again, the usual. Bit of speed brake. I'm using FSRealistic Pro trial version. I want to see if I actually like it. I haven't found so much to be impressed about just yet. It is cool, but it's more of a gimmick than actually realistic. Okay, so we'll engage approach mode now. So that should get us onto RNAV, and then final app should come shortly. It's saying more drag, so we'll put in flaps 1. And then speed check flaps 2. Okay, so flaps 2 provides us with drag because we actually start to extend the flaps down at the back. And those provide drag versus lift. I don't know why that hasn't quite worked. Obviously the descent path has not been accurate. We're 800 feet high. And it's getting worse. Okay, flaps 3. Now we're starting to descend properly. So let's hope we intercept that path, basically. Need to be flight level 25 by EPLEP. That's when we go to final. Flaps 4. And hopefully we'll be there at the right height. So we'll see if this works out in our favour. It looks like might be a slightly high approach. We'll use auto brake low for this one. Landing lights on, runway turn off, and nose lights to take off. It's an improvement. We've got some clouds on the ground, but we've at least got something. If this was default, we'd have loads of random patches of generic scenery, basically. Okay, there comes our profile. Speed brake off. We've got about, well, there's the runway, so 8 miles, 9 miles, 10 miles to go, really. So at this point I would be tempted to actually ask for a little bit higher speed. Okay, it's going to be a long approach otherwise. Final app is now engaged. We're on the profile, so that's fine. And good to go, so that's all set up now. Got about 5 minutes. I'm going to go for 160 knots there actually. Just to basically improve our speed towards the airport. There's no need to be spending this long on the approach, sitting at 110 knots, but the descent mode didn't want to do anything until that was the case, so we've just had to deal with it. Okay, there's 2,900. 7.5 miles to go. Gear down. is 2,400 feet. At this point, this is when our final approach truly begins. So we've got 7.5 miles to go to the airport. Field elevation is
2,500.
It's like 200 feet. We've set our barometric minimums, which is about 300 feet above ground level then. In that case, it was 580. We're on profile now. We've got 5 miles to go. We'll hold 160 until we are. So you can see we've got a slight nose down on the profile at the moment because of this high speed. We'll go through the constraint set, which is the approach mode, so we'll set that back to 5,000 feet. And I'll give the speed back over to the aircraft. Okay. So we're now flying the approach, final approach. Everything is set up. We flew from Entebbe, which has a really nice airport scenery from Microsoft, actually. One of the few that's acceptable. Okay, expecting some blustering winds. The winds were forecast at 170 degrees, 18 knots or so, so I'm expecting some winds. Mombasa traffic, Springbok 45 kilo on final runway 21. Line call. Control. Just check that profile with the altimeter setting, chap. Just still looking at the flight director mostly for my inputs, but I've got an eye on the runway at the moment. As we get closer down, we'll start to look at both. Wind is from the left at 22 knots, but mostly headwind, so that's no problem. We'll expect slightly left crabbing when we come in. I'm actually going to flick it over to the right now and crab in rather than fly a weird angled profile. Yeah, we've lost our accuracy there. There's our puppy lighting. Bit of a random updraft there for some reason. Profile, keep it at about 700 feet per minute.
Hundred above.
Acknowledged.
500. Minimum.
Continue. Blustery on final here. Making sure just keep that descent rate positively downwards. Aiming at blocks.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
That is quite nice for the Airbus. Not gonna lie. Go full reversers. And also you hear the ground effect as well, which is pretty neat. So FSRealistic Pro may have one or two things to offer. I don't know if it's worth, if it's quite worth £35 or 35 euros, whatever it costs. Seems a bit much. All I basically want is the camera shake on touchdown, just as an extra confirmation that, oh yeah, I've touched down. Okay, runway vacated. Let's taxi in, master switch on. Why is it not? Yeah, we should be moving. Thank you. To the gates. Right, so landing rate, just checked for Volanta, was 64 feet per minute, and we touched down shortly after the main aiming point block, so very early on the runway, which allowed us to vacate quite quickly and go straight to the apron. So, not bad at all. Nice approach. FSRealistic did give a nice touchdown effect, but honestly I don't see what else it actually provides. So other than the shaky cameras on ground roll and so on, yeah, it seems a bit much for the money, but it's just my opinion. I'm using the trial version, I haven't paid for anything yet, so obviously I'm not sponsored by them to say something nice. Yeah, there you go. I'll leave the simulator, and I will stop the recording.